Good morning. This is Data Trader Pro, the morning of February 2nd, pre-market. So happy February. Happy New Year. We haven't done a pre-market video in a little while. We've done a couple of nightly wraps. So I'm just going to get straight on it. This is going to be brief. Sectors, indices down slightly today, especially financials. We saw a lot of block trades in some of the major banks like Bank of America and so on after a huge run, expected profit taking. A mix of sectors. You can see that metals are up today. Some mixed commodities are up, and indices are down slightly. We'll go into that a little, go into the block trades very shortly. So we had a big move up, and then we've had a couple of days of consolidation and backfill. We had a neutral range day yesterday. These are yesterday's numbers. This is today, waiting for 10:15. We'll get a day type read as we do every day at 10:15 Eastern Standard Time. It'll calculate key market internals in the first 45 minutes of trade, and then output a read, whether a bullish trend day, a neutral day, or a bearish trend day. So yeah, so we had a choppy mix, but it ended slightly bullish on money flows yesterday, which is essentially what this is, which is the net money flows of a key market moving index, of our own index of key market moving stocks. Was at odds slightly with our version of the McClellan, an intraday version of the McClellan, but that was essentially flat, so not a lot can be read from the internals yesterday. Breadth was down slightly, but as you can see, the advanced declines were a mixed bag. It went from bullish to bearish and ended up somewhere in between, so not a lot can be gleaned from that. Very flat readings. Volatility space is, the VIX is live now, so this is up, but it was down yesterday. Okay, and VIX actually spiked to a, well, this is another thing. I've seen some mention on social media about the VIX spike. VIX spiked down under 10 yesterday, into the 9s for the first time in many years. There's a lot of people talking about that, but actually it's not that big a deal. The VIX is calculated on SPX options activity, and mostly weighted towards out-of-the-money options with bids on them. So what happens is, if some of those strikes become illiquid or bids vanish, the VIX calculation can get really wonky. So temporarily, if bids vanish, the VIX will disappear. And we saw that August 2015. During that huge move down, there were a lot of chains of SPX options that bids just vanished on. Not for a second at a time, but quite a bit longer. So we actually didn't even have a VIX for a little while. So because the VIX is calculated on something else that can be illiquid, it can get messed up. So I wouldn't read too much into that, other than the fact that it's an interesting market anecdote. Okay? All right. Moving right along. So we're going to go into block trades on SPY. To start with, and let's do a little bit of history. A couple of days back, we had a huge amount of buying activity on the last low. We moved up. We had quite a lot of selling, millions and millions of prints. Prints of 2-3 million up at the top, and then we fell. And so what we saw is that the resistance levels are around this 229.08, 229.27, and certainly the last high 229.57. Where the biggest blocks were. So you got resistance all in that 229, up to say 229.60 area. We fell. We came back up. We came back up yesterday, and in yesterday's overnight and pre-market, we made a higher high. So it looked like we were breaking out, but this was on overnight volume, pre-market volume. Nothing happened. As soon as we opened, we fell below that level, and then the level of these prints, 227.31, was resistance. You see, and price bumped up, tried to poke through, couldn't get through, and then fell. So we're below that now. So basically 227.31 is your initial resistance, and all these levels up here, 229.08, sorry, 229.28, and 229.57. Okay, QQQ is a more bullish posture. And certainly it had a similar situation. A lot of buys on the low, big sells on the top, came down, but it's above its last set of late sell prints, which is here. So we've got quite a bit of activity here yesterday, and we're above it. So we came down. So, basically on QQQ, 125.83 is your resistance. Above that, bullish. And then your initial support is just below here, 124.58. As of right now, we're about 125.16-ish, something like that. So, we're stuck in these ranges between support and resistance, and we're really not going anywhere. Definitely after a big move up, you get consolidation. That may be all that this is, and we might go down to test these and pop back up. But a break through this, we're going to be testing these levels: 122.69, 122, let's say 123 area, right? Something like that. There's a huge amount of support in this area, so we'll see millions and millions of shares of trades. Okay, IWM. IWMs have been funky. IWM led a lot of this rally, and since then has been very, very choppy. It's been weaker on down moves than the other indices, but then all of a sudden it's had strong pop backs. So, I think the picture with IWM is it's a bit of a mess right now. It's consolidating, whether that's for a move down or a move up, we don't know yet. Basically, your levels are 133.30. And on the top, 137.33, roughly. Buys on the low, sells on the high, came down, came up. We had a big print here, 2.7 million. So that's going to be an important line in the sand, I believe, for IWM, 135.15 to 16 area, and we're right around that now. So, I would use that as your line of demarcation now. If we can get above 135.16 on good volume, good strength activity, we're going to go back and test these higher levels. Above that, it's a bullish breakout. Don't fight it. And again, if we can't, below here 133.20, below that's going to be a bearish move. And this, in terms of counting waves and counting moves, we have enough in place now for this big rally to be to have topped. So anything can happen right here. We're stuck in a tight area, and if you look at other things, volatility space, we'll look at that actually now. There's been a lot of accumulation, actually, not just this week but last week as well. Every time VXX makes a new low, there's another million, and then a bunch of 500,000, 600,000 prints. Some folks, some larger players are accumulating VXX in size, and so every time it makes a new low, there's another big print. They may be shorting it, but I believe that there's been some accumulation going on. We've had really low implied volatility levels, levels in the VIX and VXST, the VIX indexes for quite some time. And I believe there's some players that believe a decent move is coming. UVXY, similar, but it doesn't get the size of VXX. So your bigger prints are a couple 100,000, that kind of thing. One thing I did want to focus on was the dollar. This is UUP. This is the most liquid dollar ETF. Our line in the sand really is this 2603 print, and we're below it. So dollar is bearish under this print, the 3.7 million. Yeah, that's a big print for UUP. So when that came in, we took it seriously, and that meant that was going to be our line in the sand. And look what we've done. We dropped, we came back up to retest it. We couldn't get through it. We came back down a little bit. Tried it again, another retest, and failed, and we've dropped. So dollar is bearish right now under this support. So that's going, and then we've seen runs in certain commodities, oils, higher from a low dollar. Gold, metals are certainly up. Let's take a look at the metals picture. So metals are basically, metals made a corrective move down, and then I thought this might be a big sell, but we're above it. So 115.55 is your line in the sand for GLD, the biggest gold ETF. SLV, certainly its last print was quite a bit lower, in below 16s, 1610 back here. So there's support there. As long as the dollar's down, you're probably going to see certain key commodities pushing higher. So what else do we want to see? Yeah, we did mention the USO long trade here, and that's turned out to be a great trade. Certainly when you see the big blocks and immediate move, all you have to do is follow. You just go long, use that as your stop, and obviously it back tested one off the oil report and then launched higher. So UNG could be the start of accumulation down here. This is natural gas ETF, but we're certainly below last high, 867. We're below all these big prints back here, 815. So I would use that as a line in the sand. If we can if these accumulation, this point of accumulation means that we can break back above here, then I'm bullish UNG. Otherwise, flat. Okay, I wanted to draw your attention to a new feature on the site. This is the plain Jane version for now. We're going to be adding some functionality to it shortly, but this is a stock scanner, and it looks like a time and sales, but what it actually does is it scans the market continuously for block trades on a predetermined list of stocks. So right now that stock list is well over 600 stocks. So the basis of that are the key S&P 500. Well, it's all of S&P 500, Nasdaq 100, and Dow stocks, as well as 50 top ETFs by volume. So the ETFs cover a wide range of sectors. So yeah, so it's constantly scanning. We will have a sorting functionality for that coming up shortly, maybe in the next week, hopefully. But right now, you'll be able to see all the key market stocks, all the block trades of 50,000 shares and over in these time and sales lists. So on the left side column, it's under 250,000, so it would be 50,000 to 250,000. And on the right side is everything above. So this is where the big boys lie. So if you really want to see where the big activity, but often, don't discount the left side, because often you'll see lots and lots and lots of smaller prints, and they can add up. People buying 150 or 200,000 shares at a time, but they're doing it 10 times in a day. So that can really add up. So yeah, so interesting. Also, we added not too long ago some block trade alerts. So we've got browser-based alerts that will show up in the bottom corner of your screen every time that we've got a block trade on the summary page. So the summary page is our list of charted tickers. So anytime any one of these top 20 tickers in all key sectors has any size block trade, it'll pop up. Okay, all right, so that's about enough for me this morning. I'm going to have a look at the markets. I'm going to get back to trading. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.